Today, I turn 100 years old. 100. Y'all believe that? My mama lived to be 106 years old, though, so maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But Lord, am I proud and grateful to be alive after all these years. Now, I've seen many things in my lifetime, and that is what I'm here to tell y'all about today. You see, my name is Annie Lee Cooper, and I was born on June 2nd, 1910 in Selma, Alabama. Now, I ain't gonna sit here and lecture you about all the laws and whatnot, because let's be honest, nobody wants to hear that. But I'm gonna tell y'all a story instead. My story. When I was little, back when I was about this tall, I was living in Selma, Alabama. I was one of 10 children. You believe that? Boy, it was crazy, but it was also a lot of fun, and there's plenty of love to go around in our household. Mama and Daddy kept a firm hold on all of us, and they made sure to raise us strong and proud of who we were. I dropped out of school when I was in 7th grade, and I'm not too proud of that, so don't go dropping out of school. But I also don't regret that, because after I dropped out, I went to move with my older sister in Kentucky. Kentucky was good. I was able to register to vote in Kentucky. In fact, I was registered in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. I was able to vote for what I wanted in my future. Then Mama got sick, and I returned to Selma in 1962 to take care of her. Now, you see, when I returned, I thought I'd be able to register to vote, just like I'd done in 3 previous states. So there I go, minding my own business up to the courthouse. They gave me my applications, and I filled out every question they had on it, and they were all right. I had memorized these questions and the answers, but when I took my application back to the clerk, he looked at me with a scowl and says, "Nothing ain't right till I say it is." Boy, did I have to bite my tongue. I knew they was right, and I knew that he'd do anything he could to make sure something would be wrong. Sure enough, he started asking me questions that wasn't even on the applications, questions I'm sure most of y'all don't even know. Now let me ask you, can any of you recite the preamble of our Constitution? Anybody? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. Can you believe that? Little old me reciting the preamble of our Constitution. These were the questions they'd ask us after doing the literacy test, just so they would deny our rights to vote. As if that wasn't bad enough, places also charge poll taxes. I was denied, went back home, studied and memorized some more, and was determined to return. That's when Dr. King came to town, and my, was he a mighty man. I remember the first march we took with Dr. King. The members of the SCLC and SNCC were with us too. We made our way to the county courthouse, and there, standing in front of the doors, was Sheriff Jim Clark and his men with their batons in hand and smug looks on their faces. Soon as we got there, we got down on our knees, put our hands over our heads, and only Dr. King and the members of the SCLC and SNCC were standing. We were silent, but not Dr. King. He says, "We just came here to register to vote." Then the sheriff said, "Now y'all know y'all can't do that, so go on back." Dr. King clenched his jaw. My knees were getting tired. But I wasn't about to fall or stand. I was going to stay with my people. King said, "It is our constitutional right to be able to vote. In fact, in the state of Alabama, we possess that right, sir. The 15th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States prohibits federal or state governments from infringing on a citizen's right to vote on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude." But Sheriff Jim Clark wasn't trying to hear it. He began making his way down the courthouse front steps and had his billy club in hand. Before anyone could react, he started pushing people and beating them down, telling us to get off of his street. As he was making his way towards the back, he pushed old Mr. Lee Jackson down, even after Jimmy had told him he had bad knees and couldn't sit. The sheriff wasn't trying to hear that, so he says to Jimmy, "Get out of my way, boy." But you see, Jimmy was young, and he wasn't thinking straight, so he just shoved the sheriff. I saw that sheriff place his hands on his gun in his holster, and I was afraid. But let me tell you, that fear did not stop me. No, sir. I got up and bam, gave that sheriff a good right hook to the jaw. He didn't even see it coming. And it knocked him down. Lord God forgive me, but that man deserved it. And I ain't exactly sorry about it either. After the sheriff got up, he tried to hold me down, but I wasn't going. It took him and 3 other officers to hold me down, and at that they had to handcuff me twice. But I was tired and angry, so I kept resisting. They took me down to jail, and that was a whole nother issue. It was hot, cramped, and smelled just awful. But I prayed. Yes, I did. I prayed for Jimmy Lee, I prayed for Dr. King and the rest of the people who marched, and I prayed for myself. Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot February 18th while trying to protect his mama from being beaten by a state trooper after they'd participated in a night march. He died 8 days later. But that wasn't the end of it. You see, a few weeks later, on March 7th, otherwise known as Bloody Sunday, Hosea Williams from the SCLC and John Lewis from SNCC led the first attempted march from Selma to the state capitol in Montgomery. We made our way through Selma and across the end of the Pettus Bridge, but waiting on the other side was the state troopers and local lawmen. They look at us and says, "Y'all got 2 minutes to turn around and disperse." 2 minutes. Students can't even get out of a classroom and out the building for a fire alarm in 2 minutes. And here these men were, with their guns and their clubs and mean looks on their faces. And they're gonna give 600 people 2 minutes? John Lewis asked to speak to Major Jim Clark and Major John Cloud, but they said there wasn't nothing to speak about, and within 30 seconds, he commanded his men to advance. And I remember seeing them put on those treacherous masks and thinking to myself, am I about to die? Is this how I'm gonna go? Before I could even snap out of my thoughts, a big cloud of tear gas swept over the crowd and I just heard screams. It got hard to see or breathe, but I could hear and feel everything happening around me. I could hear the shouts of the lawmen and the noise of their horses running through the crowds. Then I felt their hands on me, and one of them hit me in the back of my head with a club. Then another hit me in my face, and I fell. The rest of it seems like a blur. I looked to my right, and I saw my fellow neighbors, my people being beat, crying, bleeding. It pains me now, even after 45 years, the wounds feel fresh. I wake at night sometimes when the events seem to find their way back into my mind. That Sunday was hard, but it was not the worst. The worst part of everything that happened was having to live day after wretched day being treated as if I was nothing. As if my people weren't nothing and we weren't ever going to be nothing. But 3 weeks after Bloody Sunday, on March 25th, I was there alongside Martin Luther King and thousands of people to Montgomery, and I cried. Yes, sir, they'd finally crack little old Annie Cooper. But I was proud to cry, and I will gladly admit to crying, for on that day, I didn't cry tears of pain or sadness, but tears of hope. I was finally starting to see that this world was going to change, and my people were going to change it. But let me tell you, it ain't over. No, it is not over. But I'm so glad and thankful to be able to say that I lived to see it beginning to change for the better. And I hope that y'all get to see this war end. And I have hope for you and your futures, and I hope that after coming here today, I have instilled a bit of that hope in yourselves. Thank you.